John Oetjens, and welcome to a special edition of Schooling Around. Today's show looks back at the 2015-16 school year at giving, winning, and performing. Stay tuned.
Drownings are a leading cause of death for young children. Make sure kids learn how to swim. Always watch them in and around water and properly fence all pools. Simple steps save lives. To learn some new ones, visit poolsafely.gov.
How much does a goat cost? Kids over at Leonard Elementary know full well. They had a can drive last year to raise money and set a new record and help people in Africa. Here's more.
$75.
$75. Okay, so how many do you hope to send?
We're hoping to beat our goal of, and our goal is the same as the amount of goats last year we sent. We sent 6 pregnant goats.
6 pregnant goats?
Mm-hmm. So this year our goal is 6 goats and 18 ducks.
Teacher Helen Andrew helped out with this. She tells how it all began.
It all started with a story that the students read called Donovan's Word Jar, learning to put your words into action, that words are meaningless unless you do something, unless you have a purpose for them. So the students researched and found that hunger is one of the major problems of this world. And how many people go hungry every day?
305 million was the 2012's research.
Principal Paul McDivitt gives us the final report.
But they're very valuable commodities. And so last year we did a can drive, but we ended up getting private donations and things like that, and we were able to raise enough money to send 5 goats, and the original goal was 1, and we surpassed that and we were able to send 5 last year. So we decided to do the same thing this year, but kind of ramp it up a little bit, make it a little bit more known throughout the school and the community. And you know, we wanted to meet what we did last year because we were pretty impressed with sending 5 goats last year, and this year we doubled that. We raised over $750 and sent 10 goats to Africa for those families to use. So it was a really good thing for our group and for our school to see that it was totally student driven from the very beginning, and now it's both 4th and 5th graders. And now 3rd graders are getting involved, so it's becoming more and more diverse with our school population, and so more and more kids are getting involved and doing something good for our world.
Another form of giving comes from the I'm Third group, headed by teacher Joe Amabile. We talked to him back in February about their plans.
So we have 2 events in February. We're going to Grace Centers of Hope. We're going there 3 more times in March. There's a weekend in February we're going to be going down to the Baldwin Center to serve meals as well. An Extreme Home Maker we're coming up, and we'll be heading down to Gleaner's Food Bake in Flint.
Joe's group was a big part of the Oxford Gives Back campaign later in the year.
Community to me is a special place. You know, it's where residents and family members all come together for a common purpose. If you haven't volunteered, it's such a good feeling to be alongside your classmates and alongside the community. Doing something that is bigger than yourself is something that I think every student should experience, especially through the educational experience here at Oxford.
And all those things I didn't say were wrecking balls inside my brain. I will scream loud tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is my fight song.
It's a huge mass-scale volunteer event. It's going to be April 23rd to 24th. It'll start off at 10 o'clock Saturday morning. We'll have a kickoff event in the lobby of the high school, and we'll disperse to the houses. If you can make one house, great. If you can make them all, that's wonderful too. And then we'll have a closing event to celebrate the work that we did throughout the weekend. I mean, we're looking for, you know, as many people as we can to make this day, this weekend a success.
Students Casey Wright and Jacinta Hogan helped coordinate.
So Oxford Gives Back is a project that Oxford High School is adopting primarily. It's going to be available to everyone in the Oxford community, but we are promoting it first through Oxford High School. We are going to be adopting all the senior citizens in the Oxford area who need help with their spring cleanup. So we are going to be raking, weeding, planting, mulching, things like that. just to kind of show them how appreciated they are and that they're not forgotten.
And the neat part about this is that it involves more than just one group in this school. A lot of you folks are getting together, right?
Yeah.
How many groups you got involved in this?
We have over 7 clubs involved.
And how many houses are you hoping to take care of with this?
Around 25. When we started, we were thinking about 5 to 10, but we've gotten a lot of responses.
Okay, and when will this happen?
This is going to be the weekend of April 23rd and 24th.
The larger group behind this project is known as the Breakfast Club. OHS Principal Todd Dunkley tells us more.
This idea started when I assumed the principalship. I began to pull leaders from various groups in the building just to get feedback and input on how to improve things, what was working, what wasn't working, and wanted to activate their voice. Over a couple years, we began to activate our voice, and we then started polling only members of groups that existed on a foundational mission of serving others. So it had come to, we've got members of the Link Crew, NHS, Student Leadership, SAD, and I'm third. And that could change over time. We meet monthly. We come together and put together our plans to embed ideas that involve students of all walks of life in the school, and to organize our efforts for a greater good. Rather than isolated islands doing different things, we thought we had more power.
Cleaning up 30 homes with 300 workers. Wow. Next, it's always nice to be a winner, and we had some. In Dan Balsley's Auto Tech world, normally there would be 2 major contests, but this year there was only one. You see, AAA Ford, which used to be a big one in the spring, came to a halt when AAA decided to back out. That leaves the MITES competition, standing for Michigan Industrial and Technology Education Society. Sophomores Kyle Kalfleisch and Austin Hunter went to that one. Things went well.
It's an individual competition, so we did it separately, but there were 6 separate competitions, or 6 separate sectors, and I took first in 2, then 5th in another one, and then I took 7th overall.
Teacher Dan Balsley was pretty happy too.
I'm really pleased with their results. I didn't know what to expect. I picked some high-scoring students in both the beginning category and the advanced category, and these guys really exceeded my expectations. They scored well in a lot of events. There was a couple of them, then they got first, second sweep. They finished 3 times in first place, and they ended up placing Oxford second in the state overall, so I was very happy with the results.
HOSA is the group for kids interested in healthcare professions. There were some winners there too. Teacher Monica Petrus.
We took 77 kids from Oxford to compete in Farmington Hills for the second time at the HOSA competition. But we got first place in EMT, we got first place in veterinary science, first place in in CERT, which stands for Community Emergency Response Team, and I think that's it.
Well,
first place in in dental science. Oh, and first place in this event called Career Health Display.
They gathered in Traverse City at the Michigan State Leadership Conference with over 2,500 students from across Michigan. 5 of the top 8 kids were from Oxford. Finalists included Quinn Kimball, Zach Acton, Madison McClear, Jennifer Brasington, Cindy Hall, Brooke Boger, and Jordan Singer. Robotics was kind of a bad news, good news thing this year. More after this. After having a tough time overcoming some challenges at states, Team Torque 2137 went on to bigger and better things at Worlds in St. Louis. Senior Victoria Funk has been with them throughout her high school career.
Worlds, we came into the week first on Wednesday with the drive team just practicing and working further on the robot. Then Thursdays when the qualification matches really started hitting, and we had a good go. I think we had 8 wins, 2 losses out of our 10 matches, and the qualifications continued on Friday. And then Saturday morning was when we started picking alliances. At the end of Friday, we ended in 10th place. We ended in the 10th rank out of 75 teams in our division of 600 teams at Worlds. So we were able to move up all the way up to the 6th alliance captain, and we made our alliance and we started competing quarterfinals. We had a rough match, so we ended up getting eliminated at quarterfinals, but we had a great time. The robot did amazing, and I think we were a great representation of Oxford.
I asked her how she felt about this being her last year.
Overall, I'm glad I was able to join Torque instead of going to a different school and joining their team. It was a great experience for me. I got a lot of advantages from it, especially with welding. I was able to find my passion in my career, and I think it's a great thing for someone to join if they kind of don't know where they're going. But I'm overall happy with how my senior year ended.
Teacher Phil Kimmel oversees this group. Some thoughts.
And actually this will be the last time that it is a true World Championships. What they've normally had is 600 teams come to St. Louis and everybody competes for one prize. Now moving forward, what they're actually going to do is they're going to split the championship into 2 places. First is growing so fast. There's so many teams that are coming on board that they're actually going to have one championship in Texas, in Houston, and then another championship in St. Louis. So they're going to split the field up that way. But I think for us, it was a great experience. We've been there the last 5 years, and the students each year learn something new. There's a lot of stuff that they come unknowns that they come into that they have to problem solve, reason through, and then in a timely manner, sometimes under some pretty serious pressure, get the job done. And I think one of the big things for us was we had a robot that was pretty good. We covered all of our bases. We could score, we could play defense, we had a great autonomous mode, but we weren't the best at anything. And through all of our, I told the students, through all of our fabrication work, our CAD work, our electrical and programming work, our mechanical team, we kept playing above where I think we probably should have placed. We did an excellent job of scouting, strategy. Our drive team did an awesome job, and I think we placed ahead of where we should.
One of the steps leading up to robotics is the first Lego League. This is made up of elementary school kids getting their first taste of engineering skills. We visited Daniel Axford earlier this year and spoke with husband-wife coaches Angela and Dennis Osentoski. They gave us this profile.
Yep, they learn 6 simple machines, and one of them, they use these kits each week to build some simple machines, and in the end they will create a piece on this plate, and they get to use a motor so they can have movable parts, and so they get to kind of see the beginning of what robotics is like.
We try to get them to learn the world around them, and recycling is one theme this year for WasteWise. So what we're thinking, some of the ideas are taking them around to learn how recycling is in the community. So one idea is to take them into Meyer to look at the recycling of cans, something simple like that, but they can learn the cycle of how a can gets used, how it can be recycled, and then how it could potentially end up back on the shelf with a different product. And then they can use that idea to use the simple machines to recreate that process. And then that's what they display in the expo is what they build and using the simple machines.
What is the grade range of these kids?
This group in particular is 1st grade through 2nd grade. We do have some groups in the school that start at kindergarten.
Last March, they held their very first Lego League Expo over at the high school, and they're looking forward to doing it again next year. Next, some music to your ears. Stay tuned.
Hey Lakeville, you're watching OCTV.
It isn't often that you have a jazz legend pay a visit along with a couple of major university jazz bands, but that's what happened here this year. It was a jazz clinic for our musicians, sponsored by a state credit union and 2 Michigan State University jazz bands, along with their director and jazz pianist Kenny Barron. They were all here. They spent the afternoon coaching our kids and the evening entertaining us. Kenny Barron has put out over 40 albums on his own and performed on as many more. I had the pleasure of asking him why he does this.
Well, it's first of all hearing them, because they're really incredible. It's giving back. It's also helping to perpetuate the music, to keep the music alive and happening. So I think it's important to do that. And these young players are really incredible, as you can hear.
And you know, jazz, of course, is about music from the heart, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Is that hard to teach?
I can't give it to you. So yeah, it is hard to teach. You know, it's you kind of have to come to the table with it. You know, or the other thing is that one thing you can learn is to be more responsive, to deal with emotion more so than intellect. And that, for me, that's what music is about. It's more about emotion than intellect. But I mean, ideally, you need both.
Was music a big part of your childhood?
Oh yeah. I started studying piano when I was 6.
Did you have relatives who played?
I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and everybody played piano. You know, but only myself and my oldest brother became professional musicians.
And what was really neat was hearing him play for the kids. Jazz great Kenny Barron. Next, our choir goes to Disney.
Hey Leonard, you're watching OCTV.
Oxford High has a fine group of singers. They proved it again this year by qualifying to sing at Disney's Candlelight Processional at the Epcot complex in Florida. Choir director Christopher Card has more.
Well, what we had the opportunity to do is go perform at Disney at what they call their Candlelight Processional. It's been a tradition that's been going on at Disney since 1959. We got to be part of that tradition. They perform 3 times a night in a way that draws thousands of people to an outdoor theater to hear traditional Christmas music performed. And we had the honor of auditioning and being selected to perform at Epcot this Candlelight Processional with a 50-piece orchestra, the Voices of Liberty, and celebrity narrator Neil Patrick Harris.
Charity Justine Garner was one of the 23 who went.
It was amazing. The experience was so just mind-blowing to be a part of. Seeing thousands of people out there, you know, for each performance, and it was so cool to be able to perform for them.
Did you get to meet Neil Patrick Harris?
We didn't get to meet him, but he kind of like waved to us whenever he came on stage and everything, you know, just a little generic wave, but it made everyone's day.
Next, a different sort of performance. At Lakeville, a special Spanish class this year. Kids there got a 2-for-1 with Spanish and American Sign Language. Teacher Carmen Cervantes was responsible for that. In addition to her Spanish heritage, she took it upon herself to learn Mandarin Chinese when her husband's job took them to China a few years ago, and then taught English to Chinese adults there. So what's this Spanish ASL thing all about?
This is how you need to face everything you learn new. Make it fun, make it exciting. Don't give up. Find tricks. We call it tricks. When we use the ASL, we call it a trick.
That was going to be my next question. How did you throw the sign language piece into the middle of this mix?
Well, when we lived in Texas, prior to Buffalo, we encountered a family who was experiencing a child with deafness, and they had never had that experience before, and frankly we hadn't either. And so that rare experience, seeing a family go through that situation from the initial beginnings of an infant, carried through to our family. We were very close with them, and we embrace cultures and languages from the get-go. That's how our family is. But this was a very different situation. It's another language, it's a foreign language, and it's another culture. And but it's funny how we had never thought of it. You just had never experienced it in your own life. So here it was now front and center, a part of our everyday lives, because these were people we spent much daily, or at least every week we were with them. So then we started incorporating it into our lives. We started picking up the signs and the culture and the do's and the don'ts. And we just saw it as another asset to our family, because raising my own children, how many times did I just, give them a signal using ASL, American Sign Language, and see the positive communication? We didn't have to be disruptive, and they knew exactly what I meant. So that form of communication, we turned it into an asset, into a plus. Then we've kept in touch with that family, and it's just always been something that it makes me aware of, like I say, it's another culture, it's another language, and it's just something more exciting for us to learn. And guess what? There's no pronunciation. But and in our culture as it is, we use our hands, our bodies, our body language, and our hands to communicate quite a bit. So then this is just an added plus. But to kind of put it all together, I've noticed that language teachers kind of do this a lot. Or even classroom teachers. There's certain things, or mothers, there's certain signals that we use to communicate things easier or without distraction, or to just keep things flowing, or as just a reminder. Sometimes you don't have to say something. A mother can give a certain look, a parent can do a certain thing, and that's communication. So when I was noticing that classroom teachers do this, mothers do this, parents do this, we communicate sometimes without using words. Well, I was incorporating that into my lessons with my vocabulary on my units. Then it kind of put 2 and 2 together and said, why am I creating these movements and gestures and signals if they already exist? And that's where the light bulb went on.
The bad news, is that personal considerations are forcing Carmen to bow out of her teaching role for a while, maybe next year. Next, some new playgrounds get off the ground.
Canine Stray Rescue is Oxford's own local dog rescue. Each year they take in hundreds of dogs and bring them into suitable homes. A certified nonprofit organization, Canine Dog Rescue strives to give pound dogs a new leash on life. To donate, adopt, or even volunteer, call them at 248-628-0435 or go to their website, dogsaver.org, and click on the Canine Stray Rescue League link.
There's been a big hue and cry for updated playgrounds for our younger kids. Some of those efforts came to fruition this year. Pat Mueller is over at our Early Childhood Center.
This has been one of our greatest achievements. It's our cookie jar money. We've been saving for almost 3 years now to get programs and children together using their gross and motor skills so they can be out on the slides and the swings and the sandboxes and all that stuff that all children should have option to have. We're so glad that we've had the support of our community and of our families to be able to provide this for our students.
Can you give us a rough idea of some of the improvements that have been made?
Absolutely. First of all, we've added an entire new playground with new equipment, which means that we have a slide and a climber. Those are things that the preschoolers didn't have access to until just this playground right now. We also built a hill so that it's a sliding hill, so kids are on it this winter sliding down using sleds. There's a sidewalk that goes around so that kids can ride bikes, and there's also shade structures because we don't think about out on a playground in the summer. Students need shade. It's tough to be out there. The other improvements that we've made is that the playground that we were using for all of our age groups is now just for the infants and toddlers, which is appropriate. It provides the right sized equipment for them so that everyone's on the right size and everyone's safe.
Over at Oxford Elementary in Daniel Axford, you could find everything from can drives to duct tape.
What happened here is we're going to get it started, and each student who's participating paid $5 per piece of duct tape, and in about 20 minutes they'll be coming one by one and helping duct tape Mr. Boyd to the wall until there's nothing left but his head and his feet. And then we're going to have the 3 highest grossing classroom teachers pie him in the face, and at the very end we're going to pull the crates away to see if he stays.
All right, so when you were studying for your master's degree, what class prepared you for this?
I don't know, maybe one of those first few classes that you just had to take.
Principle 101? Okay, so I see you looking very carefully at each and every one of these kids as they come up here. Are you remembering?
Remembering everyone.
Hey, Brad out at Clear Lake tells me you practice this at parties. Is that
Brad makes up a lot of things.
about 500 more to go. I heard your wife was saying finally I'm going to let out of the door.
That's quite possible.
You're the principal's daughter, right?
Yeah.
So is this something you've been wanting to do for a long time? Or what?
Yeah.
Oh, do you feel much better now? All right.
A lot of effort, and 1.5 years and a lot of duct tape later, $24,000 for playgrounds. Thanks to Kyle Snades at the controls, Dan Zweiss at the editing desk, and you for watching. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.